Imagine you are standing on the deck of the Titanic. You know, the music is playing, the chandeliers are sparkling, the champagne is flowing.
Right, a very classic, comfortable scene.
Exactly. Everyone around you is just mingling, completely absorbed in their own little dramas. You know, their careers, their arguments, whatever.
Totally oblivious to the ocean.
Yes. But out there, in the pitch black of the water, a massive iceberg is quietly, inevitably sliding right toward the ship.
It's a chilling image for sure.
Well, what if I told you that according to this stack of translated manifestos and spiritual texts we are looking at today, humanity is on that deck right now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But instead of an iceberg, it's a mysterious, invisible wave from the deep universe, and it's just hurtling toward Earth, bringing with it a sudden, total civilizational change.
Which is a pretty terrifying concept to wake up to.
It really is. So our mission today is to decode these dense, really fascinating texts to understand exactly what this cosmic philosophy entails. We want to know what this wave actually is and why the author believes modern science only tells half the story of our existence.
I am ready to jump right in.
Awesome. But first, before we jump into the deep end, we need to make sure we note that the author and source of all the articles we are examining today is Leif Chanuan's Schwiffing.
Right. And that context is so important because what we are looking at here isn't just, your standard run-of-the-mill doomsday warning.
It's a lot more complicated than that.
Oh, absolutely. It is a meticulously detailed architectural blueprint of the cosmos. I mean, the texts assert that they can explain the origins of the universe itself.
Wait, like the actual origins?
Yes. They claim to actively expand on Albert Einstein's theories of space-time, and they supposedly decode the true underlying nature of quantum mechanics.
That is wild.
Yes, specifically grappling with things like the uncertainty principle. It's this incredibly intricate synthesis of cosmology, theoretical physics, and intense, urgent spiritual philosophy.
Okay, well, I want to stop you right there. Because if we are going to understand how to survive this incoming wave, the text insists we have to start with learning an entirely new vocabulary.
Yes, they do.
And I mean that literally. In this philosophy, the terminology is absolute. It is a very strict lexicon, and the texts make it crystal clear that you cannot alter a single word.
That's right. The translation rules provided in the source material are, they're incredibly rigid.
They really are.
They aren't just stylistic preferences.
Yeah.
There is a very specific structural and philosophical reason for every single syllable chosen.
Let me give an example for the listener. The text dictates that you must always use the term the greatest creator. You are explicitly forbidden from using words like God or Lord.
Right, those are out.
And it is always the Tao, never Tao. And it is always Hundun, never chaos. But the one that really stood out to me is the hard distinction between the word life with a lowercase l and life in all capital letters.
Oh, that is a huge one in these writings.
Yeah, according to the text, lowercase life is just this temporary, fleeting, experiential stage. You know, the biological human existence you and I are experiencing right now.
It's a physical reality.
Right, but all caps life, that refers to an eternal, spirit-endowed, non-material structure. It is the absolute immortal essence of who you are.
Yes, the true self, basically.
Exactly. And then there are the naming conventions for followers of this philosophy. They use this very specific formula, which is a pinyin word, plus the suffix zu, followed by the word celestial.
Right, so you get titles like Shinzu Celestial.
Yeah. And the text even notes that a Shinzi celestial acts as an AI coordination core, which is just such a fascinating way to phrase it.
It really is. It is a completely controlled linguistic environment. Every term is engineered for a specific function.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. I understand having a translation preference, but isn't it incredibly rigid to say a single translated word essentially corrupts the cosmic code?
It sounds strict to our ears, definitely.
I mean, if this greatest creator is universally powerful, why does it care about English syntax? Is the text implying that if you say God instead of the greatest creator, or if you misunderstand your all caps life, you are literally failing to connect to the right cosmic frequency?
Well, Actually, that is exactly what it's saying.
Wait, really?
Yes, and to understand why, we have to look at how this philosophy views the physics of language.
Hmm.
In this framework, words are not just, descriptive tags we invented to point at things.
Okay.
They carry literal structural energy. They emit specific wave frequencies that define the parameters of reality itself.
So it's like writing code for a software program. If you use the wrong syntax, the program crashes.
Like software syntax, yeah, but with a crucial difference. A computer crashes because it doesn't understand the code. In Leif Chanuan's cosmology, the universe understands you perfectly.
Oh, I see.
But using the wrong word structurally aligns you with the wrong cosmic dimension. It's less like crashing a program and more like tuning your radio.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. If you want to listen to a station broadcasting at 98.5, but you dial into 98.4, you don't get the music. You just get static.
That makes the stakes of this vocabulary incredibly high. You're basically saying the words we use tune our personal frequency.
Precisely. Let's look at the word Hunden, which the text strictly forbids translating as chaos.
Right, saw that.
To the Western mind, chaos implies disorder, randomness, like a mess that needs to be cleaned up or feared.
Yeah, nobody wanted chaos in their life.
Exactly. But in these writings, Hunden represents a primordial, pure, perfectly balanced state of absolute potential. The text even uses the phrase Hunden baby to describe this state of original purity.
Hunden, baby. I actually love that.
It's very evocative. So if you use the word chaos, your mind emits a frequency of disorder. You impose a human assumption of randomness onto a universe that the text claims is actually functioning with absolute mathematical precision.
You essentially tune your radio to the static of disorder.
Exactly. Rather than the clarity of pure potential.
Okay, so let's say we manage to tune our radio correctly. We get our code right, we use the precise terminology, and we realize that our true essence is this capitalized life, this eternal non-material structure. Where does it actually go?
That is the big question.
Because the text doesn't just hand us a dictionary and leave it at that. It maps out exactly what the universe looks like beyond our limited three-dimensional human perception.
And that map is staggeringly massive. The cosmology presented here consists of 36 distinct dimensional spaces.
36 dimensions. I mean, modern string theory suggests, what, 10 or 11 dimensions?
Something like that, yeah.
And that already requires math that makes my brain hurt. This text just casually lays out 36 dimensions, ranging from our mundane human world all the way up to incredibly complex higher-level spaces.
Yes, it mentions the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world.
And the Elysium world, which apparently contains highly specific geographic locations like the Celestial Islands continent. It reads like a cosmic atlas.
It really does.
But how does this actually work mechanically? Like, what is the fundamental difference between our world and the 1,000-year world?
According to the text, the primary difference is the structural nature of space-time and the density of matter. And this is where it claims to expand on Einstein.
Oh, right.
In our dimension, space-time feels very fixed and linear. We age, we decay, things fall apart.
The joys of being human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in the 36-dimensional framework, as you move up into the 1,000-year world or the Elysium world, the limitations of physical matter decrease. And the purity of the non-material structure, your capitalized life, increases.
So things get lighter, basically.
Yes. Time operates differently. Existence becomes less bound by the friction of physical survival. But to get there, your specific frequency has to match the frequency of that dimension.
Which brings us to the really terrifying part of this atlas, the stark mathematical warning right at the center of all this.
Ah, yes. The 2%.
Right. The text claims that only 2% of humanity has the hope of entering these high-level life spaces. Just 2%.
That's a very narrow margin.
If you, the listener, are sitting in your car or walking your dog right now, and you think of yourself as a generally decent person, a 2% acceptance rate is still terrifying. How does one actually navigate from our messy reality up to the Elysium world? Is it like leveling up in a video game, or is it something else entirely?
This raises the core mechanical question of salvation in this philosophy. How do you actually move your capitalized life from one dimension to another?
Right, where's the bridge?
Well, the text frequently uses the metaphor of agriculture, specifically the concept of harvesting the ripened grain.
Interesting.
In Leif Chanuan writings, a ripened grain symbolizes matured life that is completely ready to be elevated to a higher frequency.
So humanity is essentially a crop.
Exactly. And this connects right back to that invisible cosmic wave you mentioned at the very beginning.
The iceberg.
Yes. The wave hitting Earth isn't a flood or a fire. It is a cosmic filtering mechanism. Think of it as a massive, interdimensional combine harvester.
Wow.
The 2% survival rate isn't just an arbitrary lottery ticket. It's a brutal, objective assessment of how much of the human crop has actually ripened and how much is still green, unripe, or worse, just rotting in the field.
That is a harsh reality check.
Very much so. The 36 dimensions are basically the silos where the grain is stored based entirely on its maturity. If you are a ripened grain, your non-material structure naturally resonates with the 1,000-year world or the Elysium world. If your frequency is too dense, you simply don't get picked up by the harvester.
So the obvious question for anyone listening is, how do you ensure you become part of that ripened grain before this cosmic harvester arrives?
And thankfully, the text provides a very rigorous syllabus for this.
It does. It categorizes all of humanity into 5 distinct groups: Hundan, Vulgar, Ordinary, Wise, and Celestial. And beyond that, it breaks us down into 18 specific grades.
Yes, and those grades are based on the percentage of spirituality in a person's nature. That measurement is critical.
Spirituality percentage.
Right. It's essentially a ratio of animal instinct to divine awareness. A vulgar person, in this terminology, is operating almost entirely on physical, animalistic drives. Survival, greed, basic sensory pleasure.
Your frequency is incredibly dense.
Exactly. A wise person has developed intellect and societal understanding, but their spirituality percentage might still be way too low to resonate with the higher dimensions.
And to increase that percentage, the text makes this massive non-negotiable distinction between 2 concepts: practice and cultivation.
This is vital distinction.
Yeah, the source material outlines specific tools for this. Things like the 800 values for New Era humanity, 51 basic practice rules, and 8 intermediate heart methods.
Those heart methods are key.
Right, they include directives like quieting the mind, purifying the mind, and righting the mind. To me, it sounds like practice is going to the gym and lifting weights. It's the physical path, the daily
The
actions.
routine.
Yeah, but cultivation is actually rewriting your DNA, so you just naturally embody that strength without the weights. It's the inner transformation, the real alchemy.
I really like that analogy, but let's deepen it to match the physics of the text.
Okay, let's do it.
It's like practice is building the physical antenna, but cultivation is the electricity that actually allows the antenna to broadcast.
Oh, I see.
You can build the perfect antenna, you can follow all 51 rules perfectly, but without the inner current, you transmit nothing. Let's look at the 8 heart methods you mentioned, specifically quieting the mind.
Which is easier said than done.
Much easier said than done. In this philosophy, quieting the mind isn't just about relaxation or, stress relief. Mechanically, according to Swefsang's writings, a chaotic mind is constantly emitting erratic wave frequencies into what it calls the positive universe.
The positive universe being the material world.
Correct. When you achieve true inner silence, you stop emitting those chaotic waves. This stillness is what allows the non-material structure of your life to finally synchronize with the frequency of the Elysium world.
That makes a lot of sense. And that distinction explains why the text highlights the extreme danger of confusing the two, or of doing the practice without the cultivation.
Yes, it's a huge warning.
If you merely go through the motions, if you act virtuous but your mind is still totally chaotic, the text warns that you will suffer a deviation in practice. And here again, the translation rules pop up. It explicitly forbids the translation demonized.
Right, because demonized implies external possession, as if some evil spirit just took you over.
Right, like something out of a horror movie.
Exactly. But a deviation in practice is entirely internal, is a structural failure in your own spiritual growth.
Wow.
It's like developing a spiritual cancer.
Wow.
The cells are multiplying, but they are corrupted. The ultimate goal is pure spiritual resonance within what the text beautifully calls the inner garden of the spirit. If your daily practice doesn't take root in that inner garden, you are just performing empty rituals.
So, if inner cultivation is the absolute only way to avoid this structural failure, how does someone actually achieve that when our entire modern society seems built on the exact opposite of inner silence?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because this brings us to one of the most fiery, unsparing parts of the text. To truly cultivate this inner garden, the writings argue that you have to completely, utterly abandon your reverence for modern societal hierarchies.
It is a profound leveling of human achievement.
It really takes 0 prisoners. It launches into a truly scathing critique of the world's elite. It bluntly categorizes 98% of people as spiritually dead.
just dead.
Too busy complaining, chasing material wealth, and protecting their fragile egos to even notice the incoming wave. So when you, the listener, get frustrated that you aren't advancing fast enough in your corporate career, Xufeng's text is essentially saying you are acting like a blindfolded donkey.
It literally compares billionaires to blindfolded donkeys in a mill.
Yes. Walking endlessly in circles, accumulating massive wealth, and mistaking that circular, grinding motion for actual progress.
It's a very vivid, very harsh image. And it issues an equally massive warning against people society generally considers wise.
Yeah.
Experts, masters, mainstream religious leaders.
Right, the people we usually look up to.
Exactly. The text argues that these figures lack true cosmic spirituality. And worse, they are actually trapping their followers in mundane, earthly thinking. They keep you focused on the mill rather than the universe outside of it.
Even Nobel Prize-winning scientists get roasted. The text describes our greatest scientific minds fondly, but ultimately dismissively. It calls them innocent children picking up pretty seashells on the beach of a vast ocean of wisdom.
That's such a striking metaphor.
They are completely ignorant of the other half of the universe.
It's a brilliant rhetorical strategy, really. It acknowledges the valid contributions of scientists and leaders, but it entirely contextualizes them as, well, elementary. The text argue that human intellect is currently restricted to what it calls the positive universe, which is the realm of matter, physics, and things we can physically measure. But true awakening, the actual ripening of the grain, requires understanding the negative universe, which is the non-material realm.
But see, here's where it gets really interesting. This sets up an incredible paradox. On one hand, it calls the world's greatest scientists beachcombing toddlers and dismisses experts as spiritually dead donkeys.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the author actively encourages followers to use the Google search engine.
Yes, that is a funny detail.
The text explicitly tells readers to use the internet to explore philosophy and science. It notes that while there is a lot of garbage online, there are also facts and theories that flash with the light of truth. So how do we reconcile this? We are supposed to distrust the experts, but we are supposed to Google their research.
It seems like a glaring contradiction, I know, but it actually reveals the text's core theory of knowledge.
Okay, lay it on me.
Life Changyuan doesn't hate knowledge, and it certainly doesn't hate science. The argument is simply that scientific knowledge without spiritual perception is incomplete.
It's only half the picture.
Exactly. Using Google to study the positive universe is entirely valid as long as you are using that material information to synthesize a broader understanding of the negative universe, the non-material structure.
Right.
The scientists have the seashells, which are beautiful and objectively real, but they just don't know they're standing next to an ocean. The text is asking the reader to pick up the seashells, admire their geometry, and use them to deduce the existence of the water. It's an invitation to synthesize material science with non-material cultivation.
And it seems the ultimate goal of synthesizing all that knowledge is to realize how incredibly little the material world actually matters in the grand scheme of these 36 dimensions.
That is the ultimate takeaway, yes.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Xufeng's Life Changyuan texts, we are looking at just an epic, sweeping scale of thought. We have a 36-dimensional map of the cosmos, an urgent warning of an incoming cosmic harvester, and a meticulous, rule-bound roadmap for spiritual survival, down to the exact syllables we are supposed to emit into the universe.
It is a comprehensive system designed to force a radical and honestly uncomfortable shift in perspective. And perhaps the most potent distillation of this entire philosophy can be found in two profound maxims from the text's core principles.
Let's hear them.
The first is, when you possess nothing, you own everything. And the second is, all things are but games. Only life is real and eternal. And keep in mind, that is life in all capital letters.
All things are but games. You know, this brings up a really fascinating dilemma that I want to leave you, the listener, with today.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If the survival of the 2%, the ripened grain, requires them to completely detach from worldly success, to stop being billionaires, to step away from the machinery of the modern world and cultivate their inner gardens, what happens to the 98%?
That is the big question.
If all the wise people and leaders stop running the mundane physical world, society collapses. Is the spiritual salvation of the 2% implicitly dependent on the 98% remaining spiritually dead? Do we actually need those blindfolded donkeys to keep the power grids running, to grow the food, and to keep the earth spinning so that the 2% have the time and peace to sit in inner
There's
silence?
a real paradox of survival.
Exactly. Does reaching the highest dimension require someone else to stay behind in the lowest one? The invisible wave is out there in the dark, moving toward the ship. The question is, are you busy picking up seashells on the deck, or are you tuning your frequency to the Elysium world? Keep cultivating your inner garden. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.